Good afternoon, everyone. A few days back, I'd reported on the counter-rotating cyclonic activity above and below the equator off of Africa. That has morphed into 5 tropical systems. This is rare, beyond rare in the Indian Ocean. French researchers stranded in Antarctica because their icebreaker broke down on a 2-year-old ship where they had problems with the propeller. Oh yeah, I'm sure they did. Australia's in there rescuing them now, but look at the cover of sea ice that's not supposed to be there. United Nations running out of cash. Desperate pleas. Please pay us in full. Urgently. The shock troops on the ground to get you to care about a global carbon tax to fund the coffers of the UN. Extinction Rebellion. And while filling space for the graphic in the article, I just mirrored the United Nations logo, and you'll see at the bottom there, it made a pyramid at the end of the wheat. And then I thought, wow, that's an inverted pyramid. What if I just cut that in half and mirrored it again? Look what comes out. There's even an X there. Extinction Rebellion XR. Hidden messages. And if you do want to start a conversation, really get people to question what this Extinction Rebellion is. Why did Al Gore's predictions not come true? Not CO2, not you. It's the sun. Limited edition December merch from Adapt 2030. It's a great way to support the channel and also start conversations that we need to have right now about our shifting climate because of the Grand Solar Minimum. The link's in the description box below. A few days back, I'd reported on something considered rare in itself. 2 different cyclones in the Indian Ocean spinning in opposite directions, close to each other where the clouds are beginning to be pulled into each other's storms, but they're spinning in different directions because they're on different sides of the equator. Over the last couple of days, this has morphed into something crazy, how weather forecasters are terming it. 5 systems in the Indian Ocean. Those 2 remain off of Africa, but you see 3 more forming out there as well. When you start to get weather forecasters saying rare, rare, unprecedented, rare, extremely rare, never seen before, of multiple events in just a week, and bring you through December 6th, we'll be able to watch this as it progresses. But if you do draw lines between the center of those storms back on December 3rd and 4th, turns into a hexagram. Pretty interesting there. Now, 42 French researchers were stranded in Antarctica because their icebreaker broke down. A busted propeller prevented the icebreaker from making landfall. Really? So I dug a little deeper into the article here because I want to follow this to see, was it truly a breakdown or was it too much ice or what's happening? It's extremely weird that they're not able to get in there. It's supposed to be going into summer. It should be going into extremely low sea ice down there because summer. Polar Institute from France, I grabbed their Facebook post here. We learned in the middle of the week that the exit of the researchers as well as the equipment delayed by a broken propeller of a ship en route. So for me, how did they get a broken propeller? They're in the middle of the sea. There's no coral reefs to run upon. How would you damage the propeller in the open ocean? And here's a look at the Dumont facility, French-owned and operated area of Antarctic Peninsula. Australia is going to rescue them. So that's what the headlines are about, is finally there's some help on the way. And as you look back into l'Astrolabe ship, that's supposed to be this state-of-the-art icebreaker, a little over 2 years old, and they've already had propeller problems. See, something with the story doesn't sit right. Ship's propeller have been damaged. They never tell you why, they never tell you where. And suddenly they're stranded. And then to take a look at these images coming out of Australian icebreaker, Aurora Australis. But there's still a lot of ice cover in there. It's supposed to be in summer now and very little ice cover. And you've been told and fed this whole line of everything's melting into infinity and there's absolutely no sea ice and it's the lowest ever everywhere. Yet look at these scenes in the 5th day of summer in the southern hemisphere. You know, Antarctica or not, the way the media portrays it, that everything is melting and it's global meltdown. And here we are with real pictures showing abundant sea ice. I'm of the volition that that ship got stranded, or they're using the excuse of the propeller, and then they sent a secondary icebreaker in there. Now, if they were to tell you the truth, that would disrupt the entire global warming, global meltdown narrative, now wouldn't it? Summer sea ice strands icebreaker to go rescue French researchers. Now, wow, what kind of headline would that be? Oh no, propeller broke. United Nations running out of money. And correctly stated, could this be the reason for the urgency over climate change and the proposed global carbon tax? Now, at this very moment, they're facing a cash crunch, the worst in over a decade. So they're asking everybody who owes dues, please pay. It's like a country club. Dues are due. Oh, well, they're overdue. We're going to close the tennis courts. Please pay. Urgently and in full. But enter the cavalry, Extinction Rebellion. It's all about getting the global climate tax going and taxing every single iota of your existence, of anything you could possibly do. Extinction Rebellion and the United Nations want to tax it. So I was just filling out the graphic for the article because the United Nations logo was kind of small to just stick in the center, and you see I was kind of out of place there in that first slide. So I mirrored them just to make some extra space of an image to fill up between the boring text. Lo and behold, those wheat, when you invert them, make a inverted pyramid. And I thought, well, that is very close to the Extinction Rebellion logo. What if I was to split the UN logo again and invert it on itself in the V? And that's exactly what I did. I cut it out really close so you can see where the V is. You know what? It makes an X. Just put two straight blue lines there above the V's and you have the Extinction Rebellion logo with the X no less. And their short is XR. Coded message, perhaps. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but nothing would surprise me how closely they're tied with the United Nations. And how prepared are you for emergencies? Because these weather amplifications are happening faster than most anticipated, including myself. So you're going to have to expect power breakdowns, non-delivery at some points in the future. But how prepared are you for that? My Patriot Supply, an Adapt 2030 long-term food storage, 2-week grab-and-go food crate, or the 4-week food supply. Another way to support the channel, the link's in the description box below, along with the new Adapt 2030, not CO2, not you, it's the sun hoodies, also linked in the description box below, and I will see you next video.